There is an extraordinary showdown with Harvard going on right now between the Trump administration, which is not only putting immense financial pressure on them, basically trying to tell them how to run the university, but it all apparently stems back to a massive mistake inside of the bureaucracy, which kicked this entire thing off. This was broken down in a recent CNN segment, and yes, I know it's CNN, but they actually did a decent job this time around. Let's take a listen.
Okay, so the White House's position is it was malpractice by Harvard to not realize that this letter was so outrageous, it probably wasn't true. I mean, that letter came from. I mean, I think that statement actually just sort of gives away the whole game. Essentially, the argument that we're hearing there from May Mailman at the White House is they should have known. They should have known there was something wrong. They should have picked up the phone and said to us at the White House, hey, guys, this looks like a mistake. I think it's pretty obvious where the fault lies, though.
I mean, Ellie, could you imagine if Harvard had responded to this letter by saying, okay, we'll meet these demands, and actually that they had been sent in error to them?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Look, this is serious stuff. I mean, this is a major showdown that is escalating by the day. If Harvard had acquiesced to these demands, I mean, it would have changed the institution and compromised the institution forever. But I'm interested to see now what happens next. Now, does the White House withdraw this, or do they sort of decide, whoops, we're pot committed now, and we're going to have this fight through to the end?
So to recap, this entire showdown with Harvard is because, let's put this up there on the screen, an official on the, quote, anti-Semitism task force told the university that a letter of demands was actually now one that was sent without authorization from the government. So the university basically published the letter and said, no, we're not going to agree to these demands. Days later, the Trump administration is like, well, screw you, we're actually going to cut off your funding. But by the way, that letter was actually unauthorized and sent by the acting general counsel of the Department of Health and Human Services on the anti-Semitism task force, and it was sent in error. So the letter arrived when Harvard said they still believed they could have prevented a confrontation. Then they get this fake letter, and they're like, no, we're not going to do it. And so then now, quote, it was malpractice on the side of Harvard's lawyers not to pick up the phone and call the members of the anti-Semitism task force who they had been talking to for weeks. Instead, quote, Harvard went on a victimhood campaign. That is a direct quote from the White House. Mm-hmm. Instead, so Harvard's position, as that guy just laid out, or the government's position, is that Harvard is stupid because it took a letter that it got from the United States government and then responded to, I cannot believe I'm positioned defending Harvard.
I know.
This is
Thoughts and prayers,
painful to sit here and to defend this ridiculous institution. But their position is that they should have realized that this was a fake letter. And now, nonetheless, despite the fact that it was fake by the government's own admission.
But it was also signed. This is Harvard's stance.
Yeah.
They're like, it was signed.
They're like, it was signed. I mean, listen, if I get a letter from the government, if I get a letter from the IRS, should I call the IRS and be like, hey guys, this is a real letter? Or should I just do whatever they fucking tell me to do?
Why are they signing drafts?
Right? Yeah, actually, good point. All right, so now you tell me, Emily, based on all of this though, the government's position is still, nonetheless, we will still take all of your funding from you. So let's put that up there on the screen. Quote, what would it even mean for Trump to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status?
Well,
so
which, by the way, is different. I just want to say that's different.
No, you're right. But I'm saying this is all a cascading part of this. So Harvard says no. So the Trump administration goes, even though we sent you this thing in error, we're cutting off $2.26 billion in funding. And then a week later, it's all coming out that actually we're going to revoke your entire tax-exempt status based on all of it. I mean, this is crazy shit. And it gets to the tariff thing. Nobody hates Harvard more than me, okay? These people should lose their tax-exempt status. These people should be paying massive amounts of taxes. They're a hedge fund. They're not actually a real university. They admit less students today than they did when the US population was 100 million less people, okay? Absurd. It's just complete credential washing, inflation, student debt. I could go on forever for all of the issues with that. But as we are going to talk about soon with Greg, there needs to be a little bit of a process. There needs to be a little bit of a principle here, a little bit of an effort by the United States government to say, we're doing this because of what I just laid out, because you are bilking the federal government for these under false pretenses for student loans. You're putting your students in debt, not because of some fake in this case, quite literally, a fake anti-Semitism demand of the government. So the whole thing is insane. And Harvard is now countersuing the Trump administration. Every legal expert I see says Harvard or the government has no chance in this case right now. I mean, they may prevail in the long run if they go through a proper process, but as of where things stand right now, Harvard is getting a temporary restraining order like tomorrow, based on the way that this entire thing is happening.
When I care obviously much more about the corruption and degradation of higher education than I care about some idiot bureaucrats in the Trump administration botching it, but do you end up actually addressing the problem if you are too incompetent to address it correctly and hurt your
this
ability?
Is the problem. Exactly.
Right, because I was going to say, you and I are actually probably sympathetic to the argument that if you're making an omelet, you're going to break a few eggs.
Yes,
if the omelet is reforming higher ed, yes, obviously the media is going to pick out a few examples of really bad process work from the Trump administration and blow them up into something that they're not. This actually is really bad.
No, yeah,
like
exactly.
No
this
question.
is not.
This is so stupid.
This is not like common behavior. You know, it's like this is classic stupidity with a capital S, where it's embarrassing to even have to be in a position to be like, yeah, well, they kind of have a point. And this is what they've done with everything. With tariffs, with deportation. And that's why I'm like, I'm done with you. I am done with this bullshit. It's like this amount of stupidity that you require people to debase themselves to defend your idiocy is enough. Look, I know that, there's some MAGA memas or whatever, they're gonna stand and ride or die forever. Fine, okay, yeah, you can have them. But, for people out here who are actually have to follow this stuff for a living and have, actual acquaintance with competence and with people who actually know what the hell they're doing, it's absurd. It's an attack on intellect itself. Go ahead.
Well, so I mean, I think what's interesting here is that we compare Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0 and say Trump 1.0 was more haphazard and they didn't have their ducks in a row. They hadn't spent 4 years preparing this detailed policy agenda that they could install immediately when a Republican president, whether it was Trump or DeSantis, was in office. I think what we're starting to see, whether it's the student deportations, this letter to Harvard, or the tariffs, is that actually they did plan directionally what they wanted to do. They planned who they wanted to put in place, but they just lack the know-how to execute.
Well, actually, it's a huge indictment. I've been thinking about this a lot. It's a massive indictment of Project 2025 and all of the projects that were ostensibly to professionalize the Trump administration. It's just not happened at all. Congratulations, you had some executive orders that were ready to go on day one. Let's look at the actual result of your flagship product, DOGE, $2 trillion to $1 trillion to $150 billion, which is the exact amount that we're going to increase the Pentagon budget. Okay, so you didn't cut a single dollar of federal spend. I'm judging you by what you say that you wanted to do. DOGE, you failed. It's a complete failure. Elon is leaving soon, right? Literally, he has to because of this whole special government
that may actually
thing.
help DOGE, to be honest.
It probably will.
If you let Russ Vought start, who is a highly competent bureaucrat.
So, well, look, we're only 100 days in, so DOGE. Deportation. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, I said this previously yesterday. The Bureau of Prisons validates gang members every day, every single day. The Bureau of Prisons has thousands of gang members in the United States penitentiary system and knows exactly what they look like and how they do. Tattoos and everything. Do they make mistakes? I'm sure they do, but I guarantee you it's a much more professional. So when they come out, they go, oh, we're sending these gang members to El Salvador. I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense. It's U.S. Department of Justice. No, it's like, oh, complete bullshit. The way that you guys did this. Autism awareness, tattoo, Mahmoud Khalil. So, we're going after the student criminals, right? I'm like, oh, okay. So the Hamilton Hall guy, right? No. The guy who handed out a flyer, or this lady who co-authored an op-ed, or the guy who's married to a lady who's related to someone in what? Like, and that the tariffs, this fucking formula.
It's the exact same thing.
Same
no, it's
bullshit.
Truly the same
it's
thing.
the same as the first time around. I mean, I remember the census thing. This is the first thing. This is the first thing that pissed me off about the Trump administration. As people know, the census currently counts illegal immigrants, which is insane, right? Insane, because it basically means that if you have enough illegals in your state, that you get more representation in Congress. What? And more electoral votes. Nonsense. Well, the administration had a plan in 2018 to basically change the census. It only costs U.S. citizens. Great. Awesome. Would have completely changed the electoral map. Well, they did it in such an incompetent way. The Supreme Court was like, we don't even disagree, but we are striking this down because you did it so stupidly. And then they're like, oh, the 2020 election was stolen. I'm like, well, also, you can't do the basic paperwork. The travel ban. How many travel bans do we have in 2017? Do you remember? Maybe 4? 5? It was ridiculous.
Actually, that's a really good parallel.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that because it's so hard to like pull all of these different references out because there's literally like hundreds of them. That's actually a really good reference point. And I think the difference really, now that I'm thinking of it, between 1.0 and 2.0 here is that 2.0, to use a somewhat violent metaphor, in 1.0, nobody knew where to aim.
Yeah.
In 2.0, everyone spent years figuring out exactly where to aim, but didn't train at shooting, right? They weren't going to the range, and they're not right on the target. They know exactly what target to shoot at, but they don't know how to hit the bullseye, and that's what's happening in this administration, and in ways that are probably undermining their ability to ultimately hit the target because people are going to pull them out of the range. Right? Before they can figure out how to hit the target. They'd be like, get the hell out of here. You don't know how to use that gun.
They're already, I mean, how many days has it been since January 20th? Let's see. All right, January 21st. Let's see. It has been, all right, ChatGPT is not working right now. All right, it's been 80 or 90 days. You run out of political capital. They only have one piece of legislation they're going to pass for the next 2 years.
Yep.
The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Good luck with that one. I hope it works out, considering all the things that you guys have said that you want to do.
Well,
by the way, and you have to lift the debt ceiling.
That's not rinse and repeat from, they're trying to stuff a bunch of stuff in reconciliation. It's not just re-upping the tax cuts. It's actually stuffing a bunch of other policy priorities in.
But I'm saying you have one piece of legislation. That's all you guys have left. You burned all your political capital. You haven't deported that many people. If anything, you're actually trailing the Obama and Clinton administration, and you're roughly on par with the Biden administration. Tariff policy, disaster. Sorry, it's true. There's been, I mean, maybe you'll get some benefit, a few months from now. I'm genuinely doubtful this is where I'm just going full Richard Hanania. Like, they do not have elite human capital who are behind it. It's true.
No, I don't agree with that.
No, it's true. I don't see it. I don't see a single.
I don't think anybody has the human capital to accomplish the goals that they've set their sights on.
Maybe you're right. You know what? That's actually a decent
they're
point.
trying to radically transform a system that's built up over 100 years, and I don't think it's a matter of the Trump people being. I think there are absolutely some idiots in the Trump administration. I think we could both.
I would say more per capita, personally, but
okay, but because it's because Republicans haven't trained up an army of bureaucrats over the course of the last 100 years,
totally fair.
And Democrats have, and now Republicans are trying to use this sort of like haphazard, like Lexington and Concord band of policy amateurs to do something much more difficult than anyone's ever tried to do in the policy space.
Very fair counter, and I actually think that's probably a good place to leave it. So anyway, Harvard, that's what happened. Let's get to the CEO of FIRE, Greg Lutkinoff. He's going to break down some of the free speech attacks for us, including some on Harvard. Let's get to it. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show. Help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.